So Monday morning. Morning, Doc. Morning, guys. How was your weekend? It's been another double-digit weekend, Doc. We were slammed. You know, I did hear that there were a lot of 911 calls last night. Yeah, we have 2 autopsy stations going, and we're probably going to have to use the backup room. When I started as a Hamilton County Coroner, we had about 1 to 3 overdose deaths a week. That was about the maximum. Lately, we've been averaging 10 to 15. When you do the math on that, that's about a 5-fold increase in 5 years. But you know, those numbers really don't reflect what's happening in our community. Because we're arming our first responders with Narcan, which is an opioid blocking drug. So they're saving thousands of people every year, and I mean thousands, in our community and all over the country. But what I mean by these numbers is this. We have more overdose deaths in our community a year than motor vehicle traffic deaths and homicides put together. Almost twice as many. And you say, well, why that dramatic increase? Because of the availability of extremely addictive, extremely potent, and relatively cheap drugs. For about $10, you can buy a dime packet on the street. And that's about the size of a packet of artificial sweetener. It could have heroin in it, but it could have fentanyl in it. Fentanyl is synthetic, and it's 100 times more potent than heroin. It could have carfentanil in it. That's a large animal sedative, and it's 10,000 times as potent as heroin. So the street value of prescription opioids is between $30 and $50 a pill. So you can understand the attraction for the really cheap illicit drugs. So who's using this stuff? Where is it coming from? Well, the synthetic opioids, our federal partners tell us, are pretty much coming from China. And they're using Mexico as their distribution organization. And the organic opioid, heroin, it's grown in several different locations in the world from these beautiful poppy plants, but the largest producer is Afghanistan. So who's using it and when? Well, the majority of our overdose deaths are in the white population. Young men, 2 to 1 to women, and in the ages of 25 to 50, our most productive years. And it's interesting as far as the timing. Between 4 and 7 p.m., we have a peak. And why is that? Well, we think it might be because they use before they go to work. They might use again at lunch. And then as the end of the day comes around, they're starting to feel the symptoms of withdrawal and that severe sickness. So they call their dealer, they arrange a deal, they go buy their drugs, they use immediately, and they get behind the wheel of a car and drive home, impaired. So you understand why we have such a huge increase in the motor vehicle traffic impaired drivers that we've seen. And recently, actually within last year, I saw somebody driving on the highway. As I merged on the highway, he had his arm on his steering wheel, a tourniquet on his arm, and a syringe in his right hand, 2:30 in the afternoon. And I flipped the sirens on my car, which I have. He shocked him. He dropped the syringe, and he was doing this, trying to find the syringe while he's still driving the car. Followed him for a little bit, and I called it in. But, you know, this has led to quite a few fatalities. And, you know, since I've been coroner, we've had a number of bicyclists who have been hit and died in our community. And these are images from one of those accidents. This was actually a friend of mine from high school. And these are the last images I have of Fred. Anyway, this is not something that we need in our community. And this is a typical drug overdose scene. I mean, can you imagine an 11-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 7-month-old coming home to find this? But worse, they found their parents dead on the floor in their living room. These kids had to scrounge for food, clean water, shelter, and the 11-year-old had been taking care of his 7-month-old and 7-year-old siblings for over 2 days. So we keep forgetting, though, about the emotional toll it takes on all of us. And as first responders will tell you, and people in my office, it's a tremendous amount of work, but a pretty big emotional toll. Starting from the investigators in my office that respond to the scenes, the morgue attendants who actually prepare the decedents for autopsies, the pathologists that do the autopsies, and then the forensic scientists who have to analyze all of the evidence that's provided, the DNA, the body fluids, the trace evidence, and it really does take a big toll. But we're really forgetting the silent victims, the babies born to addicts. The National Institute of Health in 2012 said every 25 minutes a baby is born in opioid withdrawal in our country. That was 5 years ago. I'm sure that number has doubled or tripled. If you're one of the minority of people who feels that they have not been touched by this epidemic, it's just a matter of time. I mean, because petty theft is up. Crimes are up. The break-ins, the car break-ins, the muggings. And then there are very few people in our community who have not known somebody or of somebody who died of a heroin overdose or an opioid overdose. I never thought I would know anybody who died of an opioid overdose. But in my first year in office, I knew 2 young men who were the sons of friends who died. So what can we do to tackle this problem? Well, I think it's a multifaceted approach. Prevention, law enforcement, and treatment. But maybe the most important is prevention. We need to continue to educate and spread the message that opioids are extremely dangerous and can be lethal. One and done. You've probably heard that, and we keep saying it. But they actually cause a change in the brain, a physical change. This slide shows the number of deaths that are occurring. It's such a widespread problem. It's occurring all over the United States. It's not just regional. It's not just Ohio. It's certainly not just Cincinnati. 2003 in the left upper corner, 2014 in the bottom right corner. And if we had 15 and 16, I'm sure there would be a lot more red on there. But I am heartened by new statistics that have come out from the National Institute of Drug Abuse. It said in the last 4 years, despite the huge increase in overdose deaths in adults, there has been a sharp decrease in opioid use in high school seniors. But we have to continue to educate them and talk to them about the dangers of gateway drugs such as alcohol and marijuana, because that will impair their ability to make proper judgments. And the NIDA also says 70% of high school seniors do not believe that marijuana smoking is harmful. Well, let me tell you, the vast majority of opioid overdose deaths and the victims that we've had in our office had marijuana in their system at the time of death. So here's to the next generation. May they learn from our mistakes and not suffer from the exorbitant toll, human toll, of drug use.